Hey, hey, everybody. It is Kate Conroy and Vinnie Civitillo coming at you with another episode of Bingefest, where we talk shit about shows. Um, Although more often than not, we pick shows that we love. So we talk shit, but it's not like bad shit. It's often like tertiary shit.
I wouldn't say that we pick the shows that we love. We probably pick things that we know we'll want to binge. I mean, because
Right,
I
that's
there
true.
most not, I don't want to say most. A lot of these shows like I didn't watch before we did it.
Hmm.
So can't really say
Really?
all that.
You
I
haven't
mean,
watched all the shows before you were a
I'm gonna
Severance
bring up
person.
I'm gonna bring up the list. Hold on.
All right.
Obviously Lois and Clark I saw. Gilmore Girls I didn't see. Well, I mean I saw like episodes here and there, but not the whole thing. I certainly didn't love it before we watched it. I wouldn't say I loved it afterwards either.
No.
I saw Watchmen ahead of time. What We Do in the
Yeah.
Shadows, obviously I saw the show, but not that season. Reservation Dogs, same thing. Fargo, probably same thing. Um, all right. Okay, fine. So, Superstore and Doctor Odyssey were probably and Shrinking and like was another show that I didn't see.
Right.
So
Right.
there are there are shows that we watch that I haven't seen at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine.
Um, you want to
Anyway,
do what are you currently binging?
yes, I have two. Sorry, I always have more than one because
I
I
mean,
I
we're recording
can't.
shows back to back. You could save one of them for the
Oh,
next one, right?
right. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna
Okay.
do that. All right. So, I don't think that I've ever talked about this on BingeFest before, but it's a British show called Big Boys. Does that sound familiar to you? No.
I
Good.
mean, the second you say British show, I'm like, I don't know. I know like three of them, so the odds are not
Fine.
in the favor.
Okay. Big Boys. It's about this kid who is actually played by the same boy who played the cousin in Dairy Girls. And people who watch Dairy Girls are going to know what that means. Why can I think of his name? James. He played James in Dairy Girls. Same kid. He plays a like a college freshman age person whose father dies of cancer the summer before he's supposed to go to university. And so he takes the year off. He's depressed. He spends it in bed. And so he gets to college finally the next year, but he's sort of not in sync with the rest of his peer group. And because he's not in sync, he gets put in this housing situation that's not with everybody else. And his roommate is like a 20 something man who also didn't get to go to university at the right time. They're kind of mismatched, and James is gay, and I call him James. That's not his real name on the show. I don't remember what his name on the show
Is
is.
it his real name in real
Um,
life, or did you just pull this name out of nowhere?
no, James is the name of his character on Dairy
Oh,
Girls.
I do that from time to time, like if I'm watching something. Yeah.
Right. So James is gay, but he has no experience at all. He's a virgin. He's never even kissed another a boy. Um, and his flatmate is this sort of randy party animal, drugs, drink. So it's sort of this mishmatched partnership crossed with a fish out of water story for both of them. And it is just so sweet. Like, if you're looking for the antithesis of that very dark show happening right now called Adolescence about the boys that you got to watch because they might shoot up a classroom, this is what you're looking for. They bond and they become so close, almost best friends. I would say best friends, to the point where the older kid had been living with his grandmother because his parents were fuck ups. They're just gone. And at the end of their freshman year, his grandmother has had her Alzheimer's progress, and so she has to go into a home, an assisted living. So the older kid doesn't have any place to live. Like literally, he he doesn't, and it somehow gets back to James, and he and his mother, who's single because her husband died, um, they go pick him up. They're just like, hey, we tracked you down to this beach where you've been sleeping, and you're coming home with us for the summer. And they just take him in, and they become like a little family. It's so funny and lovely and sweet. I just loved it so much. It's called Big Boys, and it's about like growing into who you're supposed to be. It's coming of age, like all these genres I'm sort of mentioning. So well done. So well done. Just a beautiful show. Only two
Okay.
seasons. I wish it were more.
I've been rewatching Ted. I finished it, but it's only like 6 episodes. So
Ted.
so are you aware of the Ted movie with like the doll?
Oh, not the doll, the teddy bear?
Yeah, that's a doll. I don't know.
I don't know. I think of a doll as like a Barbie doll or a
All right,
baby doll. All
all
right,
right,
you're right.
fine.
I'm sorry. You're right. Teddy bear is a doll. Okay.
So Ted, the movie was made into Ted the show, and it is
Yeah.
hilarious. I mean, if you watched and enjoyed the movie, you are going to love the show. If you watched and hated the movie, then you are going to hate the show. Like it's not
They
like
made it into a show? I missed the headline. When did that happen?
a couple of years ago. I've been waiting for season 2 for a while, and I think it's coming. But
Huh.
yeah, and it's awesome. It's a prequel. Like it's about like Ted and I think Johnny was the name of the um what's his name from the Boston one. Why can I not remember the name of the
Mark
Wahlberg?
Wahlberg?
Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg's
Marky
character.
Mark.
Yeah, when he's like I don't know 16 years old. So it's sort of like set up
Oh.
like a sweet saccharine sitcom, except that it's not because it's like him and his family, and then there's this like bear, you know. And, so it's a
Do
lot of
all
the
of his
same
family
humor. Wait, go ahead. What?
do all of his family know that the bear can talk and
Yeah.
like
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
he's just part of the family.
Yeah, because remember, in the canon of Ted, like Ted was a celebrity when he came to life. And I guess
Right.
like a lot of like his
Gosh.
whatever, like, crude, the drug hooker's behavior was like, being this celebrity and then getting pushed aside by America. So that's
That's
that's totally what's already
funny.
happened. Like it's not like
Okay.
we're seeing like an origin story or anything. This is just the same, like premise as the movie, but just earlier in
Got it.
Wahlberg's
Got it.
life.
Got it.
Um,
So funny.
so funny. I mean, again, you had to have appreciated the humor from the movies. But if you did,
Sure.
like this is maybe one of the only shows that I like belly laugh out loud more than like 2 or 3 times an episode watching. Like it is hilarious. I would totally recommend it.
What channel platform?
Peacock, if you got Peacock, otherwise I'm sure you can find it somewhere else.
All right.
And because it's only six
Cool.
episodes, I'm sure you could buy it pretty cheap if you wanted to. Like very, very funny.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I love it.
That's what we've been binging. Bring us into the main event of the evening. I say the evening. It's like
So
9:30 in the morning as while we're
it's
recording this.
it's actually 8:50 for me. So
Okay.
I'm literally
Oh,
still in
even
my
worse.
pajamas. I did
Yeah.
not get myself because I combed my hair, which I thought you'd
It looks very
appreciate.
nice. You look
Thank
very well
you.
put together.
Thank you very much. Razor's been sleeping on my head at night, and so I wake up with like white girl afro, and I have to like use all the water to just tamp it down.
Sure.
But anyway, Severance. So the premise of the show is essentially we're in the future. Technology has arrived that allows us to separate our working life from our home life.
Are we in the
And
future?
so, do you think that technology like this exists?
No, but I think it's like fictionalized for our time now. Like
Oh, I guess I just, okay.
somebody
Yeah, no,
came up
you're
with an
right.
invention, like Cobell or whatever came up with an invention to do this. And I don't see any technology in the show that's like radically advanced other than
You're
that
right.
one thing. Yeah.
Okay,
But
sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
We're in a fictionalized universe.
Yeah.
We're not in the future. But scientists, somebody has developed Mrs. Cobell, I believe,
Yeah.
which we don't know that in season one, episode one, but
Right.
someone has developed a technology that allows people to separate their working life from their home life to the extent that the people at home have no knowledge or memory of their own behavior and life at work and vice versa. So you have this phenomenon of innies, people who are in the office, and outies, the same people who live in the same community drive to work every day, and as soon as they take an elevator ride down, their innies pop on, and they have no memory of home. And as you can imagine, this technology is controversial. Some people are like, it's abusive. How could people know that the innies are being treated well? Um, but some people, the people who have opted in to be innies, are often running away from something really painful in their lives, in their home lives, and they want to not be consumed with it at work as well. And in the very first episode, we meet Mark, who is a worker. He's an innie. We meet innie Mark, and we meet Helly, who is a new innie and who we later find out to be part of the company's family structure. So she's sort of, this is a little bit of a publicity stunt for her. Her Outie has declared, this is so safe, I'm going to do it myself. And her innie doesn't love the experiment, and they get into a fight, if you can imagine that. So I'm going to stop there because, Vinny, you keep trying to talk, and I keep,
I just want to interject and say, like, this might be a good time to let people know that we're covering seasons 1 and 2. Because you talking about
yes,
Helly being Helena Egan is essentially a spoiler for the end of season 1. So, like, don't watch this
you're
if you
right.
care about spoilers for seasons 1 or 2. But go ahead,
You're right.
continue. Yeah.
You're right. Well, I think I'm at a natural stopping point, except that Outie Mark has a sister and a brother-in-law, and they are very worried about him. Like they are trying really, really hard to keep him alive and going because his wife died.
Yeah.
But then, spoiler, at the end of season one, we discover that one of the innies that works at Lumon is actually his wife. And because he's been severed, he has no memory of her at all. So when they are in the office together, they're coworkers and they're very polite, but they don't talk about anything except work. It's very disturbing.
Yeah. I mean, so you had said that when you finished season 2, you had. I mean, all right. Let's scale it back to season 1 because you just mentioned like they found out that um the wife was at work. That had to be one of the most powerhouse conclusions to a season. Amongst like the best season cliffhangers I've ever seen in my life. Like Apple dropped that years ago at this point, right? Because like
Yeah, it's been 3 years, I think.
I don't know what what happened. Was that COVID? Like what happened that made them like say
No
like, yeah,
idea.
it's okay. We're gonna put out this powerhouse season finale, and
Hold
then
on, let me see if I can Google it.
maybe 3 years from now we'll come out with season 2. It'll be fine, you know. Um, I remember. So what happens is that the innies do like a revolt. Like they get into the office that controls like their the switch of their personalities, and they're able to turn on their innies outside of the office. At which point Mark is at a party for his sister or his sister
His
and his
brother-in-law.
brother-in-law. Yeah, like the
Yeah,
reading of his book.
it's a book party.
Yeah, like a book reading. And he sees like all of the wedding photos or whatever of himself and the HR person at his work, Ms. Casey. And he's like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, she's the wife that died? Yeah, like, so he runs out and he's like, she's alive! She's alive! Just as like, the what was it, Milchek like slams into the
Yeah.
office that's controlling this and flips the switch.
Yeah.
So yes, we can make certain assumptions about who he's talking about. I mean, we know who he's talking about, but like the characters in the room can make certain assumptions about who he's talking
Right.
about, but they don't totally know because the second they would be able to ask, like, who's alive,
Hmm.
he flips back to Outie Mark. Which I'm gonna
Yeah.
say was such a it felt like a dropped ball when we came back in season 2. Like season 1 had this like holy shit, things are gonna change kind of finale, and then season 2 it's like, well, who is alive? And like we
Right.
have to spend like half the season just arriving at the same information we had at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
Um, Not to say that season 2 was bad. I think they they asked a lot of trust of us in season two. And I don't
Yes.
know if that was the case in season one. I can't remember. But season two, I mean, like we're spending like half the season just trying to get back to that same information. We're doing like random episodes where we're like seeing Miss Cobell and her like weird freaky sister. There's like episodes where we're going out on like a retreat to the woods. There's like an episode where oh we're seeing like lambs in the middle of the office. Like, and I'm like, what the hell am I watching? You know? And yes, it all came together at the end of season two, and we'll get to that. But like just going along for that ride week to week, I'm like, what am I watching? Yeah,
It
I'm really putting
reminded
some trust in Zoolander here. Like, you know.
Yes. No, you're right. It reminded me of Mike, what is the guy's name? Mike White Lotus. Ah all right, I can't think of his name, but the guy who is the creator and showrunner of White Lotus took a lot of shit this week because people were kind of annoyed at the ending of White Lotus.
I haven't I haven't caught up on any of the season three episodes, so I don't
You
know.
don't have to. I'm not going to spoil it. What I will say is he took a lot of heat for some of the stuff, and his quote to the world was, "I was edging you. If you don't like being edged by me, get out of my bed." Swear to God, that was his quote.
Wow.
And I wouldn't go so far as to say that Severance was edging us, but it was a little slow moving, but there was a very satisfying payoff at the end, both with how season two ended and with the fight that Mark gets into with Innie and Outie Mark, the
Yeah.
camcorder fight. That was incredible.
So one of the overarching themes or, you know, like plots of this season has been this fight between everybody's innie and their outie. Like this notion that you are absolutely two different people.
Mhm.
Because people have sex in this season, you know, and it's like this weird consent issue where it's like, well,
Right,
you know, my innie consented, but my outie necessarily didn't, you know,
right.
like just to give you an example, like Dylan meets his
Yeah,
outie's wife and she kisses him because I guess she kind of falls for like this more innocent version of her husband. Like maybe like the version that hasn't been beaten down by like his lack of successes. You know, like in the context of The Office, Dylan is a
right.
rock star. Like he gets
Yeah.
all the big prizes. Like I got the cool stapler, I got the cool, you know, like
The
finger
waffle
trap
party.
thing, the waffle party. Like Dylan is rocking it. Outside of The Office, Dylan considers himself to be kind of a fuck up, or any Dylan considers Outie to be kind of a fuck up based on how
Yeah,
it was described to him. And I guess Gretchen kind of sees like, you know, that version of her husband that was maybe more confident back in the day, and she kisses him. And Outie Dylan considers that to be cheating. He's
yeah.
like, you know, that was fucked up. You cheated on me with my own body.
But
Um,
also, she also considers it to be cheating because
yeah.
she was very hesitant about telling Dylan. She was like struggling with whether or not she should even like confess this. And I think she did it out of a sense of guilt, but boy, oh boy, like you know that old adage, if you cheat, you should and you decide to stay with your partner, you should never confess because you should just live with the guilt. You don't want to punish the other person, right?
Mm, I never heard that, but that sounds reasonable. I don't know.
Yeah, right? I don't know. I feel like she should have just lived with the guilt if there was guilt to be had.
Mark, and this is weird. Mark has sex with who he believes to be Helly, but who is
Innie.
actually Helena, like the Audi Helena. And Helly
So,
considers that a big consent issue. She's like, you know, she had sex with my man without, you know, like it's weird.
yeah.
There's a
Well, and it gets to the point where at first Helly joins the Innies in this publicity feat. It's so good, it's so safe, I'm gonna be one. But then when they like sort of break out in that moment and Dylan is holding the two buttons down, Helly decides to infiltrate. Helena decides to infiltrate
yeah.
as Helly to then report back. And
And it makes
while
sense.
she's right, while she's infiltrating, she kind of seduces Mark.
Yeah. I mean, so Helly, this is weird. Helly hated being an innie, like
Hmm.
in season one. I mean, she made formal requests like I want to quit, and then they would play tapes of Outie Helena being like, "You're not allowed to quit," And so Helly would try to commit suicide, in the inside world there, just to be like, "All right, well, if this is how it's going to be, I'm just gonna kill myself."
Yeah.
And like Helly would tell her, like, you are not a person. You are just, meanwhile, outside in the publicity stunt, she's like, I see me and my Innie as sisters, but like she told her, like, you are not a person. I am the person, and I am telling you, you are gonna continue this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so like at the end of that, when they have to come back, she's like, I'm not letting Helly come back, like which is weird. I don't know how they managed to turn off the anything just for her, but whatever. It
It
was
has something to
obvious that
do,
that's what they were doing.
well, I believe it has something to do with that special elevator. And so I think Milicic and Mrs. Cobell wouldn't have used that same elevator. There's got to be alternate ways to get up and down. So I think that's how she did
Well, I
it.
don't think Milchek and Cobell had the procedure done to them because there's like an actual computer chip in their
No, you're
heads.
right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
was guessing an alternate way down.
Yeah. I mean, it was funny that it was obvious to Irving that she was lying because the story when they get down there and they're like, well, tell me what happened. What was the outside world like? Irving, she mentions that she was just in her sweats watching TV, and there was like a night gardener outside or something, or like yeah, like there was a gardener outside, and he's like, at night there was a night gardener, and he can't get over that. He's like, there was a
Yeah.
gardener doing work at night, and
Yeah.
that actually threw me off because I was like, how would Irving know that that would not be normal? Because like they really portray these people as like having no knowledge of the outside world whatsoever. Like,
But
like some of them are like, what does the sky look like? I finally got to see the sky, and meanwhile, Irving's like, no, that's weird. Gardeners don't work at night, even though they totally could if they wanted to.
yeah, that's an interesting point because I all along thought that the Innies had a memory of their pre-severed life and they would remember growing up and, playing catch outside with their dads or whatever.
No, because if you remember, like when we first meet Helly, they're asking her what her last name is, and she's like, I don't know. And they're like, yeah, your name is Helly R. And so she had no memory
You're
of anything.
right. You're right.
Because I guess if you were to come in with those like pre-severed notions, then Helly would come in totally being Helena Egan. Like, and
You're right. No,
yeah,
you're totally right. God, that puts the show in such a different perspective now. So they really are treated like non-people, which
yeah,
ultimately is the fight that Mark gets into, the two
yeah.
Marks, with a camcorder. So Mark
So
is
one
handed this,
records, yeah, like one records one part of the conversation, then the other watches it and records their answer. And it's funny because they start out, Mark is like, no, totally, like you're a person and I'm a person, and then like it gets to a point where he's like, well, look, it's my body, like I really need you to come along on this.
yeah. And any Mark is like, no. Why should I trust you? Why should I believe anything you have to say? You treat me like shit.
So it comes to this point where any Mark is in love with Helly, and Outie Mark is obviously in love with his wife, Ms. Casey. I can't remember her Outie name, but it's this weird break because
Yeah.
in the season finale of two, they do all kinds of shit to like burn bridges with the company. Like, they start like an outright riot. And in my mind, you can't go back to work the next day. Like, you can't go back to work after you have like locked your boss in an office and like, it started a riot. And I think they killed some people,
Yeah.
but in order for Mark and Helly to be together, they have to be there
Yeah.
at work. Like, and just to interject with like a little rabbit hole discussion here, how lenient is this place? Because like they walk away from their desks and like the two of them had sex. There have been times where they just like take a stroll and like visit the other departments and like they walk in on the lamb people doing their weird lamb shit. I don't know, but like meanwhile, the whole company is watching Mark's progress on this Cold Harbor thing, like right down to like, all right, he's 97% done. He's
So
98% done. Now he's off taking a stroll around the office, like
this is something that I feel like was not well done at all because I have read some articles and I've read some reviews. No one has yet successfully explained to me the connection between Mark and his little Cold Harbor word game
yeah.
thing
Well, they've been
and
deliberately
his
vague about it.
right and his wife's blackouts in these different rooms. Like they're
Uh,
connected somehow, but
yeah. So
doesn't make any sense.
my first thought was that they were working on some kind of program to put the consciousness of the person into the lamb or the lamb into the person. And that wound up not being the case. And the lambs just had like no connection to this whatsoever. Because you're giving me that look
Yeah.
like, why would they be doing this? Why would they have a
Right.
whole room full of lambs that they
Yeah,
raise?
I don't know.
Um,
I was thinking gene therapy. I was thinking like
that's
cloning and
possible
shit like
too.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. And then in the season finale, Brienne of Tart, whose name in the show I can't remember,
I love her. Yeah.
brings the lamb to like this whole process, and I was like, yes, all right, we're taking the lamb and putting him in the human body, or the
Finally.
human and putting him in the lamb body, and it just turned out to be a sacrifice. Like we just have to kill the lamb for
Which
no reason
can
whatsoever.
we pause and just marvel at a company that is also a quasi religion because
Yeah,
they talk about the founder as if he is God or a
yeah,
prophet. It is so icky. It's so icky. The
yeah.
fact that corporate America would sacrifice a lamb to the founder of the company in order to pray for good quarterlies? Like,
Well,
I'm sorry, but
they're
what the
kind of
fuck?
untouchable in this sense that like none of your employees can talk about what's going on because
Right?
none of them remember anything going on after they leave. So you
That's
could do
right.
all kinds of crazy stuff and nobody's going to whistleblow.
Well, and it's not like they're physically abusing them, but there is like mental torture. The things that they do to Milicek. Oh my God. They were like, the paperclip was facing the wrong way. So I'm going to need you to paperclip 1,000 documents together with the paperclip in the right direction. Like, that's
Yeah.
shit. I'm
And I mean,
sorry,
he's
but
supposed to
what?
be like corporate, right? Like he's like,
Yes, he's
I guess you could
management.
say like a middle manager or something, but like he's not
That
severed.
is,
Yeah.
no, he's not severed. That is so fucked. I could not believe that.
And he in
Oh, and
his
when they
own
were
little
like,
ways rebels too, because like they tell him to like ease up on the not like bad language, but like big words.
smart,
Like he
smart
uses like
language.
he has a good vocabulary and he uses it, and they're
Yeah.
like, no, he's back on that. Which I guess technically, I mean, this is weird. Like the characters don't have any memory of anything, but they remember English. But I guess you could say like, they're innocent, they're kids in a sense, like they wouldn't know these like $5 words but they remember English, so I guess they could. I don't know.
They
It's
should.
weird. It's weird.
It's very weird.
I think what was it? What was her name? Miss Huang, the kid. I think she was the one that made the complaint about like the big words. Or at least that was implied. I don't know.
It's interesting. It just occurred to me that this would be a really good way to subdue entire populations. Like if you have, and I mean, I'm not suggesting that it's a good thing, but if there was a group of people that wanted to subdue, for example, homeless people, if you wanted to solve the homeless problem, you could bring each one into a room, tell them that you've got like a warm bed for them. They've got everything that they could need. Would just need to sever, and then you wipe clean their whole previous experience and you put them to work in some basement somewhere. They just could never leave. Like I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying it's rife for additional problematic decisions by the corporate structure.
But if you can do that, then you can just give them the jobs in the basement. I mean, I'm not saying, like, I don't know, unless you're saying like the work would be free or whatever. Like, you haven't solved any problems because they're still just as homeless, but now they're working. So if you can give them jobs working, give them jobs. Like.
Well, the thing is, if they're well, yeah, I don't know. I'm not I haven't thought it through. I'm just
It's
thinking
it's
like they
it's 8:50 in the morning for Kate.
I know. They could take problematic populations and disappear them into a corporate structure if they had no memory of their previous past.
I guess. I
I don't know.
don't know. So, any characters you want to talk about?
Yes. I really, really want to talk about the relationship between Irving and Christopher Walken.
Bert, right?
Be Bert, because that came out of nowhere for me.
Did it?
Um,
Because they built to that like all season one.
I Okay, so I don't have gaydar at all. So I just thought that Bert and Irving, which is hilarious because I want to say Bert and Ernie,
Yeah, sure. I didn't
which would
think about that until
sort of a
just
dead
now, but yeah.
giveaway. Um, I just thought that they were like really good friends.
Okay.
Meanwhile, they, like Mark and Helly are totally falling in love. And it was really sweet to see these two older gentlemen played by powerhouse actors. I mean, these guys are like Hollywood royalty almost. And they're just these two sweet gentlemen who are trudging along in this corporate world and they find each other and it's beautiful until Irving gets himself out while Dylan is holding those two buttons, makes his way to Bert's house and finds that Bert is married,
Yeah.
happily married,
Also to a guy. So
also to
interesting.
a guy.
They made, I mean, it is, but they made the homosexuality there biological. It's not a choice. It's, even
Thank
Outie
you.
Bert is
Right.
married to a gay man. So yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know. I have amazing gaydar. Like, Tara was watching some show, and I honestly don't even know what the show was. But there were these two women, and they were arguing. And I walked in the room with no prior knowledge of the show whatsoever, and I was like, "Oh yeah, they're gonna hook up." And Tara goes, "No, no, no, they're yeah." And they're like, within like 4 seconds, like one of them just plants a huge kiss on the other one. I was like, "There you go."
What show is it?
I don't know. I want to ask her about it now, but yeah,
That's hilarious.
yeah. So it was. I thought it was interesting that Bert brought Irving to like his house to meet the husband. And even the husband was like, I get it. You were different people, like, the Innie
Yeah.
Bert. But at the same time, there was obviously some jealousy there.
Oh, I
Yeah.
mean, the whole dinner party blew up
Yeah.
because the husband was just sort of acted out, I would
Yeah.
say.
Uh,
But I just thought it was lovely to watch these two leading men have fall in love. Like it was so anti-Hollywood. It reminds me now, it didn't at the time because I hadn't thought about it, but it reminds me now of Brokeback Mountain. Like that movie was beautifully shot and beautifully told, but the shocking piece of it were these two leading men who were in a story where they fall in love with each other. Like that is just not a thing that you get to see with stars very often. It was really interesting. It was great. And it was so sweet. Like I just was rooting for them. I was shipping them. And of course, they
the
could
late
not
great
be.
Heath Ledger.
Sorry, I was back to Burton Irving, but
Oh, sure.
I was shipping Burton Irving. But
Uh,
yeah, the late great Heath Ledger.
and Jake
Yeah.
Gyllenhaal, he was the other one, right? I'm trying to remember. It's been
Yes,
so
Jake
long since I
Gyllenhaal.
saw the movie. Yeah.
Yep.
That came out like 21-ish years ago.
My God, 20 years ago. You're right.
I thought it was
Oof.
interesting in the dinner conversation. They talked about, okay, so Bert outside of the office was this, like, I don't want to say mercenary or assassin, but something like that. Like he was the muscle for maybe it was Lumen, I don't know, but like he was said like his job was to like kill people and get rid of the bodies or something, or to do
I don't remember
something.
that at all.
Yeah, and he was
Really?
like, I severed so that part of me could
Oh
maybe
yeah.
be innocent again.
Oh
Because I think
yeah.
like the
I
church came
remember that
out
now.
and like distinguished that innies and outies have separate souls that can be judged separately. And so he was like, I
Yes.
wanted this idea that maybe like part of me could go to heaven, even if it wasn't a part of me that I would, know.
Yep. Yep.
I think what was it in the end? Doesn't
Mm.
he puts Irving on a train because I think his responsibility was to kill Irving, and he's like, I need to not know where you're going. Like you need to like get
Yeah.
on this train and just go.
God, I totally forgot about that. And Irving, the reason it's a train is so that Irving can take his dog.
I totally forgot about the dog.
He was lovely. But poor Irving, like you wonder if he has been a closeted person his whole life, and that's why, because we don't know why he decided to sever, but
Oh yeah,
we don't we don't know his backstory, but we do know that his Outie lives completely alone and he's obsessed with painting this long dark hallway with a light at the end of it. And you could say that that's symbolic of the train coming at him, or some kind of exit strategy to get out, or his subconscious painting the actual hallway in the Lumon building.
yeah. I thought that's what it was, like the actual hallway.
I think so too. I mean, obviously he's seen that hallway, but I think that you could probably.
I don't know why he's seen it because it's. I mean, I guess like I said before, they wander around at work. Like whatever, I'm just gonna walk around.
So
um,
true.
I
It's
don't know
so
why no
true.
one would have stopped them because they're obviously being recorded. Remember, like
Yeah.
Helena was watching the recordings of Mark and Helly. Um,
Just wandering the hallways.
I, there was like the one where they kissed, and she was watching that, and I guess she was watching the tapes to try to be able to mimic Helly. But
Hmm.
like, I there was an episode where Mark and now Helly have sex in the office, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
where is management being? Like, get back
Yep.
to work. You're 98% done with this,
Get
project
back
we
to.
need you to finish. Like,
Yeah. I mean that. Yeah. It makes me wonder, like, is Milchek in charge of the whole floor? Like, there's hundreds of people there.
I don't know. I thought it was very interesting that there is a clear dynamic between Helly works for Milchek and Milchek works for Helena. You know, like
Yeah, that's so
like
funny. I
Milchek
didn't.
actually like Helly like tries to throw in his face like I'm your boss, and she's like he goes no, Helena Egan is my boss. You very much work for me. And wow, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That was crazy. Um, is there any character that you want to?
I don't know. I don't think there are any characters specifically I want to talk about. I mean, like Cobell was interesting this year, really just in like they don't give us a lot of anything. Like a lot of this is just,
Yeah.
purely on faith. But like in the beginning of the season, Harmony has all the answers. Like, they could come to her at any time and be like, "Hey, what's going on down there?" But she's very
So,
much like pure Lumen, like, no, even though I guess they fired her. I don't remember how long after that was. And throughout the season, I guess she comes to the point where she's gonna join them. And I don't really know that we get much of any reason for that. Like they do show there was the episode where like they took the credit for her severance work,
yes.
but like
She
no real reason why. Like I don't know.
so I got that she absolutely is the person who came up with the idea and tested it and was able to make it come to fruition. Like, she is the originator, should be the patent holder. She owns that. And for them to fire her with very little ceremony, no timing, she was just sort of escorted to the door. And she lives in that house next door to Mark's, which, let's come back to that.
Yeah.
And she drives that shitty car. It makes me wonder if the Egan family was like, yes, the technology was yours, and we're gonna compensate you for it somehow with this job. And the job sadly doesn't pay very much money, but It just made me wonder if she too had been taken advantage of, you know?
I guess because I mean, I at the end of the season, she does come and help them. Um,
Yeah.
which was another thing. Like, okay, the second that Cobell is on their side, like the second that she is definitively on Team Mark, let's say, like Team Save Miss Casey, like they had every opportunity to just be like, okay, now tell us everything. Like, what the hell is going on? And
You're right. And
I
they
don't know
didn't.
why they didn't. Like, or
I think they're saving that for season three, to be honest with you.
I get that, like, the
Because,
character, the show, Ben Stiller, producer of this show, would want to hold back his secrets. I don't get why the characters wouldn't be like, okay, tell us everything. Like it's
right.
time for us to be in the loop on like everything going on here. What the hell is Cold
I
Harbor? You know?
I think the reasoning is because by the time they know that she is team Outies, team Mark, team Miss Casey,
Yeah.
and the actual end of the show, that timeline is very tight. It is a matter of hours.
I mean,
And
there's
they just
enough
don't have
time
time.
for like the two of them to have the conversation with the camcorder where it's like, okay, we're gonna leave them alone for like a half an hour while they, talk. If I'm
Yeah,
Mark's
you're
sister,
right.
I'm like, all right, now tell me everything while we're
Yeah,
waiting.
that's a really good point. And they're in the car a lot. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. You're right. Because if I'm Mark's sister, while Mark is having the fight with the camcorder, I would say to Ms. Cobell, lay it on me. Time to get real. What is the
Yeah.
fucking score? Tell me.
Yeah.
Say it all. And we don't ever get to see that conversation.
Because I mean, at least like, Lost is another show where there were a lot of secrets and there were a lot of mysteries, but like none of the characters knew the answers to any of them. Like
Right.
even the characters who you would think would, like in the last season when they finally become good guys, they're like, oh, I don't know any of this either. Like I'm just stuck on this island the same as you. Like
Well, yes and no. I mean, Ben knew, if we're going to go into Lost, Ben knew a lot of secrets and he was just
a little.
manipulating people with them.
A little, but not anywhere near. Like, like, if you're asking, like deep secrets about the island, Ben didn't really know much of anything either. He was just like, yeah, I don't know. I've been here a long time and I don't know. I've
Yeah,
seen
I guess
weird
you're right.
stuff. Um, yeah, like Jacob might have been like the only one who really knew what was going on. And finally he did sit down and explain it to them when he became Team Losties or whatever. But
What
in this
was
show,
Richard, the guy with the eyeliner? Richard,
Richard didn't know anything.
wasn't he? I can't remember. It's been a very long time.
Richard was like Jacob's second in command. Like he was like the
Yeah,
guy that was going to tell the people on the island, that Jacob's the dude that you need to be like, I don't want to say worshiping, but like, like following in his footsteps or whatever. But like
yeah,
Jacob didn't tell him anything. He was just like, yeah, look, like the smoke monster guy is bad. You know, tell people not to listen to that guy. That was really all he
yeah,
told Jacob or Richard, sorry. Yeah.
yeah. I guess
One
you're
day, I
right.
don't even want to say season one for this show. Like maybe in season two for Bingefest, we'll do an episode on Lost. I'm
I
only
mean, it
bringing
might have to be
up,
a two-parter.
yeah, I'm only bringing up that because it's another show that was deep in its mysteries. But like
Yeah.
Lost rolled out answers to those mysteries on occasion, and they made sure that like there were no characters around who could be compelled to answer like the questions that people had. This show, there are plenty of characters who could, like shed some light on things and don't, and like I don't know.
Also, Milchak, he essentially quits at a certain point toward the end, right?
I don't know. I mean, he does revolt in a way, like,
Yeah,
but doesn't necessarily quit. He sort of like flexes his own, like, listen, you're not going to tell me what to do, within a certain parameter. Like, you can tell me what to do within the course of my job, but you're not going to tell me, like, that I can't speak the way that I can't speak as intelligently as I want to speak. Like he basically
yeah,
says that, but he doesn't actually quit. I mean, like, if Milchek really quit and became like Team Innies, then when they like lock him in the thing, he would have been like, all right. But
yeah, you're
instead,
right.
he fights hard to get out of there. And I
Yeah,
think
you're right.
now would be a good time to talk about the season finale and like what happens in the end.
Go
I was
for it.
blown away by the fact that like in the end of this show, they come up with a plan to get Miss Casey out and
Hmm.
they execute on it. And they get her out. You know, there's a door, and on one side of that door is your Innie, and on the other side of that door is your Outie. They get Miss Casey out. Miss Casey immediately recognizes, like, oh, that's my husband, Mark. Mark, come on. But Mark is still Innie Mark. And he turns around and sees Heliar in the background and is like, oh, that's the girl I love. I'm staying here, which is weird
Yeah.
because we just caused this whole riot and revolt and we have to stay at work to be with each other. You know, I mean, if you cause that kind of a riot at work, you want to get out of there and never go back, but they have to stay. I
They
don't know.
have to stay and
They really
like
don't because Harmony Cobell is on their team now. If she can create a lodge somewhere where your Annie can exist, she can like, duplicate that technology somewhere else. But fine, he turns around and he has to stay with her. I don't know.
I still I don't want to keep saying I still don't understand why, but Mark was lied to and his wife was lied to. So the last time that Mark and his wife are together, he's at home writing and she's going to a party, I think at his sister's house. And then police come and tell him that there's been an accident and he has to identify the body. And apparently, the same thing happened to her, where she is told that Mark was in an accident. She had to
Oh,
go
I didn't know
identify the
that.
body.
Hmm.
They mention it. They mention it
Huh.
in,
Probably one of
I
those
forget
last two
when.
episodes when they do the Miss Casey
Yes,
centric episode. Yeah.
right. So I am still waiting for somebody to tell me why this couple is so important that Lumen had to essentially abduct them.
Not essentially. I mean, they abduct her. Like she is being kept there against her will. Like she is kidnapped.
Yeah, she really
Um,
is. She doesn't get to go home at night.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I want to know why Mark is the only one that can complete this project. Like why
Right,
is Mark? Because the whole company is standing there waiting for him to finish. It's like
right,
97%, and he takes
right.
that day off from work, and they're like, God, like
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
plenty of people there, like they have other options. I don't
right.
know that maybe he's the only one doing that specific work, like finding the scary numbers, but it doesn't seem that way because like
So
not
weird.
Irving, Dylan's been doing it, right? Like
Right.
I
And
don't know.
Heliar has been doing it.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And that's on purpose, like I don't know.
Well, do you remember in season one when they're training Heli and she's like, how am I supposed to know which numbers to like capture and put in the little box? And they were like, you'll just know. And then she sees them and she's like, oh, I see it. I see it. And they said, how did you know? And she said, it felt scary. The numbers were scary. I was like, what the hell? Like, how can I really need somebody to explain adequately. And I'm worried that like Lost, I'm going to be left with some questions that don't have any answers.
Do you have any questions about Lost that don't have answers? I could like rabbit hole bang that out now. I feel like we're never gonna get an answer to why the numbers are scary. Like it's probably just a feeling, but like hopefully we will find out like what all this means and like why, like they're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll find out because I do want to know, like, not necessarily why the numbers are scary, but what the scariness means. Like, why are they important? How are they connected to Miss Casey? And why is this couple so important that they had to abduct them separately and then keep them apart with eyes on Mark? Because that's the only reason Ms. Cobell would live next door,
Yeah.
right?
Well, they didn't want that, right? Didn't they say like that? Or I don't know if they were just saying that to the sister just to appease, but like I don't think I got the impression that that wasn't necessarily on purpose. Like maybe she was
Really?
keeping an eye on him, but it wasn't exactly corporate mandated.
No, no, no. She was totally she
Uh,
had an alter ego. Like in Lumen, her name was Ms. Cobell or
right.
Mrs. Cobell, and all of her neighbors, including Mark, knew her as Ms.
Started with an
Rismond or
S or
something.
something. Yeah, I don't know. No, but I
Why
thought
would
that that was just
she?
something that she went rogue and did. Not that like Lumen was like, no, we need you to spy on this guy, like, 24/7.
How could I don't why that doesn't make any sense to me. Why would she go rogue and do that?
None of it makes any sense. We're gonna
Yeah,
need a
that's
lot
true.
of answers from this show in season three. I don't know that we're gonna get them. I mean, I really thought that season two was gonna give us a lot of answers about like what we saw in season one, and it really didn't. Like there was a little bit at the end, but
Yeah. Well, and I did Google earlier the extended gap between seasons one and two. It was primarily due to a combination of factors, including the show's intricate writing process, perfectionism on the part of the creators, and the disruptive 2023 Hollywood strikes.
I guess the Hollywood
Wait,
strikes would have been big. Yeah, but I mean
yeah.
that should have affected every show. Like, why wouldn't every
Yeah.
show have been off for you? I don't know.
It's ironic that the perfectionism played a part given how little I feel like we have to work with now. Like, there's so much we still don't know.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know that we're gonna get answers in season three. I think they're just gonna keep stringing us along.
Ultimately, this is not a show that you can dick around on your phone. You have to pay attention, and it's entertaining as hell the whole time you're paying attention, regardless of whether we get the answers. I'll definitely rewatch it.
I don't know that I would say it's always entertaining. Like there are a lot of episodes that I'm watching and I'm just like, what am I watching here? Like the episode when this Cobell is like, what am I watching? The episode where they were out in the woods on that like retreat was like, a, what am I watching? And I'm not saying they were bad episodes. Like the episode where they're out in the woods was like, a fun character thing. Um,
Well, that episode was important because it's where Helly R was revealed to be Helena Egan.
Right. I'm not saying it's not important. It was just like, what the hell am I watching? Like, like
Yeah.
they're walking around in the woods. There's like people that look like them, like, pointing at, and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah. But you have to admit that Lost gave us a lot of episodes like that too. Like, what am I even watching?
Yes, but Lost never took, I mean, with the exception of like certain like mysteries that went throughout the whole show, it wasn't like I'm not gonna find out like what I'm watching for 3, 4 years. Like they set up little like mini mysteries that they solved like 2 episodes later, 3 episodes later, maybe at the end of the season. But we didn't go like three,
So
four seasons without being like, what is this? Like
we did. We still don't know what the smoke monster was.
you know exactly what this.
What is the smoke monster?
Smoke Monster was just Jacob's brother. Like he got thrown into the light being like, the life force of all people on Earth. And they were told like that would be a fate worse than death. You don't want to get thrown in there. You don't want to go down there at all. He got thrown in there and transformed into this monster. And the monster becomes kind of like this um entity that wants to either destroy or take over the world, and he just wants to get off this island. And so like the purpose of Jacob goes from being like, I am the guy who protects all life on Earth, to I am the guy that prevents this thing from getting out. That's what the monster was. You're
I
muted.
know I'm not
Oh, okay,
muted,
never
but
mind.
I
Sorry,
but
you made
I
movements with your mouth that weren't.
that was not explained. I'm sorry. I have seen the show through
No, I mean it was
multiple
explained enough.
times. No.
Are there
At
any
no
other
point.
mysteries you want an answer to while we're
So
down
I'm
this rabbit
sorry.
hole?
Did you get that information from reading and reading and
No.
reading, or you just
No, they did a
understood it from...
backstory episode on Jacob and the smoke monster guy. Like,
I know, but it
remember the
didn't
one
make
with
any
Alice and Janie,
sense.
where like,
Yes, where
yeah,
she dies and
yeah,
their children,
what was it? Across the Sea
they're
was the name of that
twins.
episode. I want to say, yeah,
I
like,
don't know. It doesn't matter.
yeah,
So they were twins,
right. I mean, yeah, probably, yeah,
and one is light and one is dark. Like, it's
yeah,
very hit you over the head symbolism, good and evil.
yeah.
And evil grows up to be Titus Welliver, and good grows up to be Jacob. And Titus Welliver, is he pushed? Does he jump? How does he get into the...
Jacob throws
I,
him in there.
Jacob throws him in because
Yeah.
Titus Welliver is bad and he knows it, right?
No, because I think he killed the mom, right? Like, didn't he kill Alice and Janie? Like,
I don't fucking know.
I'm. I'm 99%. Yeah, that's what it was. Like he kills the mom, and then Jacob loses his crap and throws him in there. And he thinks it's going to kill him.
But
But
it
he
turns him
does.
into a smoke
He didn't
monster.
listen. The mom said, like, fate worse than death. That does not mean you're going to die. It means something else. And so he winds up creating this thing. And at that point, like the thing's hell bent on revenge and it, wants to get out. And the way that
All
Jacob
right.
explains it, I want to say to Richard, it could have been Hurley, one of them. He shows the bottle. It was Richard. He explains it to him. He gets like a bottle of wine and a cork, and he's like, "This monster thing is now in this bottle, the island." And he puts the cork in, and he's like, "That's my job. I got to keep this thing from getting out." You know.
I do remember that speech now. So the smoke monster is Jacob's brother transformed into the smoke monster, and only Jacob can keep him on the island.
Well, it's his job to.
So it's his, please, he doesn't have a 401k attached to this job.
No, but I mean, like, I don't know that you can necessarily say that he is the only one because at the end of the season or end of the series, it winds up being Jack's, thing. He passes it on to Jack, and Jack
Right.
ultimately kills him. Um,
Jack kills the snake monster?
Smoke Monster.
Smoke?
Yeah, I think they kill each other. Um,
I don't remember any of
because there's
this.
that big epic fight between the two of them on the mountain while the earthquake is going on, and Jack kills him, and I think the smoke monster stabbed him, and it takes him like a little bit to die. He like slinks off into the woods, and he has that little moment with Vincent the dog, and he closes his eyes, and that's
It's
the end of the
the
show.
top.
Yeah,
All right. I think we're gonna have to rewatch Lost.
yeah, absolutely. I'm down. Season two. Let's save it for season two. So there's something awesome in season two.
Every episode is awesome.
It is, but like that, there can be like this, like my favorite show ever. Like we're saving it for like another season. I don't
Okay.
know.
Fair enough. Um, Apologies to anybody who did not want to journey down that rabbit hole with us.
Sure. That's the point of this show. If you're not
Right.
if you're watching this show and you don't like enjoy a good rabbit hole, I'm just gonna tell you, it's unsubscribe. I don't
True
know.
story. This show was almost called The Rabbit Hole.
Sure, sure. But
All
getting back to
right.
Severance, um,
Yes,
so how did you feel? Did you feel like the end of season two was just as powerful as the end of season one? Like, does it put you on the hook and you want to see season three? So, because I would have
I
paid
do.
Apple any amount of money they wanted to watch Severance season two after Severance season one. Like,
Yeah.
if they wanted like $200 for that 1 month, I would have given them $200. I don't necessarily feel the same way now.
No,
Like
I
after
don't.
watching season two, but like,
I
whew,
do really, really, really want to see what happens
yeah,
when Mark and Helly get back to their office cubicle and they have to deal with the riot that they've started and they have to deal with their feelings for each other and they have to go home for the night. Are they going to decide that they just live at the office now? Because if
yeah, I
Mark
don't know.
goes home, his wife is going to be at his sister's house, right?
I mean, these characters can get fired, and there's no reason for him not to be after all that. I mean, didn't they imply that they were going to do it anyway? Like, after he completed the
Yeah,
Cold Harbor thing, like, I
right.
don't remember if they straight up said like he's gone, but like,
They implied
yeah,
they imply that he would be terminated, whether that
maybe
means
Miss
murdered
Cobell said
or
it. I want to say Miss Cobell was like, "You're going to get the party, and then you're done." Um, and they had the party, and they rioted before
that
they could.
was so crazy.
Yeah.
Who has a marching band as part of their corporate campus?
And is the marching band severed? Did the marching
It
band
was
have
so
to?
funny.
I mean, it felt like that was the entertainment department, right? Like,
Right.
so like, are they severed? Do these people know how to play the trombone only
Well,
at work? You know,
right. Did they have to relearn? Did they take
or just learn?
musicians?
Maybe like the Outie doesn't know how to play the trombone at all.
It, it, so many questions.
Yeah.
So many questions. But yeah, I really can't wait to see how season three opens because I assume Ms. Casey goes to her house, like wherever her original house was with Mark, finds some other family living there, and then immediately tries to go to his sister's house. And her brother-in-law is there with the baby. I don't know where Ms. Cobell and the sister are, but the brother-in-law is there with the baby, and he's like, "Oh my God, you're alive! Wait until Mark finds out. Sit down, have something to eat." He's gonna sort of take care of the wife, and then Mark is gonna have to go home at some point. And then Mark is gonna be
No, I think at this point they have to kidnap him in the same way that Miss Casey was kidnapped. Except I don't know how you do that now because Miss Casey is out in the world and she knows that Mark's there, like
I disagree.
weird.
So Mark's plan, his Innie's plan is just to live at work?
Yeah, because the second
Wow,
he
that's
leaves, he can't be with Helly anymore.
you
There's
think he
no
won't be able to
reason
get
for
back in
Mark
the
to
yeah.
ever return to that building now. Like he knows that
Oh, I
because
see
the
what you
whole
mean. I
reason
see what
you
you mean.
mentioned earlier in the show, some people
That's
go
right.
there because they have the trauma.
God,
He
you're
went there
right.
because he was trying to get away from like his own head for 8 hours a day because he was grieving his wife. Once
That's
he
right. And
knows
now
my
she's
wife is
back.
out in the world, I don't
You're
need to be
right.
there ever again.
I was thinking that Mark would be able to like go to work and be with Helly R and have sex under a conference table every now and
Sure.
then because nobody's watching the
I mean,
cameras,
that's
obviously.
living the dream, is it not? Like, but no, we can't have that.
And then he's got his wife at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be problematic.
And I mean, what is Helena Egan gonna do about all of this? Like, Helena Egan is a weird rogue card in all this
Yes.
because Helena has sex with Mark, just like Helly has sex with Mark. So where is her plan in all this? Like, what is she doing?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Highly recommended. You
Yeah.
gotta have faith.
Yeah.
As you're watching it and you're like, what the hell am I watching it? Just watch it. Give it the trust that it's going
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yep.
Roll with the
That's
flow.
good shit.
So what's
All
up
right.
next?
What's up next? Let me look at my list.
I mean, are we not doing I'll cut this out if we need to, but like Lois and Clark season 2 and 3 was gonna be
Oh yeah.
yeah.
That's right. We got to find out what life is like without Lex Luthor, the best Lex Luthor of them all.
Yeah. All right, so catch up on that or don't and just
Or
listen to us
don't.
talk about it. Yeah, it's like
Yeah. You
totally up
watched
to
it when
you.
you were a kid. It's fine.
Fine. Um, and we'll see you then.